this year's Hanukkah is different. It's been 65 years since the deadliest day of the Jewish people since the Holocaust. 65 years.
Welcome back, America. That was President Biden yesterday. Obviously, he meant to say 65 days, and he meant to say it twice, but he never said it even once. Senator Tom Cotton joins me. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Hugh. It's good to be on with you. I'm glad that you speak Biden because I had no clue what he was talking about.
Well, it is.
And that's further evidence of why his handlers at the White House generally don't let him out in public after 4 p.m.
You know, Speaker Johnson joined me last hour, and I asked him if the president had been involved in negotiations over the supplemental with funding for Israel, Ukraine, Taiwan, and fixes for the border. He said not once, not at all, and he's ready to go. Have anyone at the Senate heard from President Biden?
No, Hugh, not to my knowledge. I mean, I think Senator McConnell has spoken to him twice at Senator McConnell's initiative to try to explain to him that while Republicans, want to support Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan, we also have to put our own border security first at a time when 12,000 illegal migrants are flooding our country every single day. Yet Joe Biden is still not engaged on it. In fact, Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer have deputized Chris Murphy as their point person in these negotiations. And Chris Murphy is one of the far left progressives in the Senate. He's one of the probably 15 or 20 Democrats who should probably be voting against any compromise legislation that actually helps secure our border. So I just think it shows that currently Joe Biden is not serious about passing this legislation. He's still in the clutches of the far left ideologues that are riding the saddle in the Democratic Party.
Well, Senator Cotton, what are the Republicans asking on the Senate side be done at the border?
Pretty simple solutions, Hugh. The reason why we have 12,000 migrants a day, and again, just to stress the astonishing scale of 12,000 migrants a day, Jay Johnson, Secretary of Homeland Security for Barack Obama, has said that 1,000 a day will stress and overwhelm our system. Or to put it differently, 12,000 a day for a week would be almost as large as Fort Smith, Arkansas. The reason we have that is President Biden has basically held up a giant sign, a welcome sign to the entire world, saying that if you get to our border, we'll let you in. We'll let you in through abuses of the asylum system and the parole system. So we are simply insisting that if the president is not going to enforce the asylum and parole laws as written and intended by past Congresses, then this Congress must pass new laws that will limit the president's discretion to abuse those laws.
So is the language in black and white? I mean, has it been reduced to writing?
Yeah. So the point, yes, we have proposals that we have sent to Democrats. Democrats are scared of their own shadow. They won't even put in writing concepts. They're so afraid of their far left activists, Hugh. Seriously, like they refuse not only to put down actual legislative text that could be passed into law, they refuse to reduce to writing the proposals they're making. In many cases, they won't even put it in an email because they're afraid of the far left activists in the Democratic Party getting wind of it and rising up in arms. That's how unserious the Democrats are right now.
I can normally understand the other team's strategy, even if I don't agree with it. I have no idea what they expect to happen. We need to fund Israel. We need to fund Ukraine. We need to fund Taiwan, and we need to fix the border. We're not moving. We being Republicans, we're not moving. Do they not understand that?
Hugh, we're not, and it's disappointing because this legislation is urgently needed. We've had a crisis on our border now for years. I wish we would have passed it months ago. But since the Democrats have not gotten serious about it, still to this day, then it looks like we're going to go into the Christmas holiday without legislation that will secure our own border or that will help Ukraine fight against Russia's war and aggression, or Israel to destroy Hamas, or Taiwan to deter China.
Is part of this, Senator Cotton, the fact that the hard left of the Democratic Party do not want to help Israel?
There's some element, I think, Hugh, and probably a lot of the voices who want to have an open border here would also condemn Israel for war crimes and genocide and, occupation and so on and so forth. You had one Democrat, Bernie Sanders, last week vote against Chuck Schumer's woefully inadequate proposal, specifically on the grounds that it gave too much aid to Israel and didn't put strings and conditions on that aid. But I think probably the overriding concern is that the Democrats largely think that 12,000 illegal migrants a day is just fine. In fact, that they shouldn't even be illegal. The law should recognize it. If you show up at our border and want to come in, irrespective of the reason why, we should let you in.
All right. Let me conclude this way, Senator. I played President Biden stumbling, and he stumbles every day. I genuinely am worried. I don't know who's running the White House. Do you folks have any idea? Did Leader McConnell say the president is actually in charge and running things?
He did not opine on the president's condition. I mean, I think it's plain for anyone to see, though, from the clips you just played or the reports of the president at other of these Christmas parties or Hanukkah parties or public statements that he's diminished significantly, not just from his time in the Senate as vice president, but even from his time on the trail when he was already somewhat diminished. Look, I think most people in the administration, to include cabinet officials and senior White House aides, don't know the president's true state. I think it's very, very closely protected by his wife and just 2 or 3 of his longest-serving aides are in the White House that are like the Praetorian Guards surrounding him from any outside influences. And to be clear, outside influences include most people in the White House.
Do you think this can actually work for a year? I mean, can it work until November? It's impossible to work until November. There's no COVID.
No, Hugh, I don't. I don't think the president can run a campaign that's not even in the Rose Garden because he can't in the Rose Garden. He's on a teleprompter. And I think it's going to be increasingly exposed. And the American people want a president who is strong and vigorous in the defense of their interests and the pursuit of their ambitions and aspirations. I mean, it's not the only reason why Joe Biden is polling so poorly right now. It's also the results of his failed policies. But most Americans have serious reservations, including many Democrats, about the president's ability to serve not just another 4 years, frankly, but a year in office.
Now, Senator, I want to close by talking about our alma mater. It's been reported this morning that Claudine Gay will remain as president at Harvard. I want a Solomon Amendment requiring every college and university in this country that receives federal aid to attest to their anti-Semitic policies and to their resolution to expel people who threaten Jews by chanting, obviously, assault-like chants. Is there any chance of getting such language through?
Well, it's an interesting idea, Hugh. I suspect, though, the Democrats would lock arms against such a proposal since higher education and college campuses are one of their holiest of holies and their sources of power as an institution in this country. I think it's very disappointing that governing boards of Harvard are going to cave into leftist pressure. Actually, I shouldn't say cave since they're all left-wingers for the most part anyway, and are going to keep the president in her position after that woeful and pathetic performance last week. At least the Harvard, or I'm sorry.
Are you optimistic that clarity is going to dawn in this country? I mean, it's the border, the anti-Semitism, standing with Israel. These are all now clarifying issues. I think we have the most clarity, and we got Jack Smith running up to the Supreme Court so he can put the former president on trial before the election. Do you think anybody doesn't know what's going on here?
I think you see the citadels of culture and politics and business in our country scared that they're losing their grasp on power. The one source of power in this country that they don't have a lock on, fortunately, the most important source of power, which is the people. And the people, I think, are going to deliver a strong rebuke to all the leftist citadels come November next year.
I hope you're right. Senator Tom Cotton, talk to you again next week. I hope so, at least. And if not, Merry Christmas to you. Follow him at Send Tom Cotton on X, the site formerly known as Twitter.